The shore, relentless in the war, the legions in our hearts, shed waters in our balls, the spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest, the cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand, stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. With the semblance of a blaze, with gratitude and rage, we touch another page with delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand, stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity if it hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain, the face of evil smirking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Conditions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners. Go. Run, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come fi get it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come fi get it. Run for the hills, let the will lead the mind. For living is the thrill with the doubt left behind. Amidst all the wreckage, there is beauty to behold. We are fearless and intrepid from the depths of our soul. The hands of the steady cleave the rose from the bone. The sweat of the weary brings us close to the dawn. The motion of the wheel brings the light to the mind. Chain be aligned, it's divine. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, they come we get it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, we come we get it. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it.
Of the audio. My little test of the audio, how does that work? I will go ahead and make my head large over here. Yes, I see the bubble around it. That means it's working. As far as Is the audio working now? Is the audio working now? Is the audio working now, ladies and gentlemen? Let me get a 1. Yes, because the Goldie Jones channel. Okay. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you guys very much. All right. So, we're talking today, we're given the special treatment, okay? The special treatment that we give things on this channel to the topic of street smart. Street smart is something that has a positive connotation. It is something that we would like to consider ourselves as being, right? Maybe there's a little edge to it. But can I get a 1 in the chat if on balance, street smart is something that we hear with a positive connotation, but it is not quite explicitly stated what it is. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I will see it or understand it when I see it. I know it when I see it, okay? No one has quite enumerated, explicitly explicated, elucidated what exactly it is, but I know it's positive and I will know it when I see it, ladies and gentlemen. That is street smart. That's the way that we have heard about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, over here on this channel, we keep things measurable and actionable. We keep it simple, right? We want to explicate these things. We want to get into it and try to see if we can make it clear so that we can say in one sentence, okay? That's my rule. I got a 1-sentence rule. Go out and check my videos on influencing, persuasion, selling, and so on and so forth. You know that it's all about simplicity. Simplicity is the key to communication. Simplicity is the key to influencing, and so on and so on and so on. If you cannot say anything in 1 sentence, you probably don't understand it, okay? And it doesn't matter how big the concept is. It doesn't matter how many books and libraries it takes to unpack the 1 sentence, but you should be able to make it a 1-sentence explanation. What created the universe? Well, you can say God created the universe. And then you can go on for years and years as to what God is, right? Or whatever it may be. Well, how did it all start? The Big Bang. And then you could have a 4-year physics course on cosmology and the Big Bang. But you get the point. Shout out to Soul in the house. Soul Provider Speaks in the house, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to get right into this. And again, I think apologies. I don't think you guys heard my apologies earlier, but I need to apologize because number 1, I'm late. Number 2, I don't have the camera set up all correctly here. I am in Ghana. That is not an excuse. There are no excuses. This is an apology. This is not excuse making. However, on Thursday, it's even going to be better. I can guarantee you one thing. The stream on Thursday is going to be better than this one. Oh, but this one's going to be good. Oh, this one is already good. This one is already excellent. But I guarantee you that the one on Thursday is going to be better because I'm going to have the camera and the lighting and all that stuff set up in the Ghana base. I think I was having too much fun. Too much fun. I didn't realize that we were not completely set up. So let's get directly into this, ladies and gentlemen. What is this street smart thing that we keep talking about, we keep hearing about? Be street smart, be sly, be crazy like a fox. Let's talk about it. What does it all mean? So, as we often do in this channel, we're going to go ahead and put some other words around the word, okay? Because we like to build things intuitively. What exactly are other ways we can use or other phrases that we can use to talk about this street smart thing? How about the term natural survival? And I like to bring you guys along with me. Okay? I like to bring you guys along with me on the journey. So if I were to tell you that street smart has to do with natural. I'd rather be a wolf. Natural, survival in the natural state, survival in the wild. Does that relate? Can I get a 1 if that relates to the term street smart? natural survival, survival in the wild, survival in a natural situation, an unartificial situation. You drop this person in the wild, okay? And the wild meaning the wild of human life, or even the wild of any kind of situation where nature governs, nature red in its tooth and claw, human nature, or whatever kind of nature it may be. We're talking about the natural survival. Hence, there are these natural skills that it takes. The more intuitive and, shall we say, close to nature things are, the more often it is that it's not explicitly explained, ladies and gentlemen. So if we said natural survival, okay, and then if I were to say jungle survival, well, you guys would be like, yeah, I get it. Jungle survival. Concrete jungle survival, because we say street smart and we often relate it to the urban situation. However, it's not about the urban situation per se. It is about the natural situation. So as we do, we're going to say, okay, what exactly is this kind of, what are the relevant parameters? What are the relevant attributes and characteristics of this jungle, the relevant characteristics of this natural situation, the concrete jungle, the natural scenario where we're surviving in. What does survival mean there, and what are the relevant parameters that we could say? Okay, in order to get down to what things really mean, you simply just start breaking the words apart a little bit, little by little, ladies and gentlemen. So these characteristics, okay, of the jungle that we are talking about, what are they? The relevant ones. Oh, not the fact that it may be the Amazon or a desert or something like that, or it may be South Philly or whatever, but parameters such as competitive, ladies and gentlemen. Eisen perhaps knows a couple of things about the jungle, about the urban situation. The Roger Report says, I would say being street smart is a productive way to use common sense and things learned from the environment, experience, etc., etc. You see, I would agree with you because I already know what you're talking about, Roger. And other people would agree with you because they already know what you're talking about. But if no one actually knew what you were talking about, let's say you were talking about, or you were explaining it to a 5-year-old, which is the standard, right? The standard is, hey, can I explain this thing to somebody who does not already know what I'm talking about? They don't know what common sense is. And by the way, we know that common sense is not common, right? Common sense, there's nothing common about it. It is not shared. The word common there does not mean that it's evenly distributed. It just means that it tends to come along naturally from experience, as you are saying here, Roger. You know, productive way to use common sense and so on and so forth. But would you agree with me, Roger, that if he was a 5-year-old, we're going to need to break it down a little bit further. We're going to need to say, okay, what exactly do you mean by productive and common sense? Okay? What exactly do you mean by productive, common sense, and so on and so forth? Shout out to Jonathan Barronville in the house. Thank you very much for the $50 super chat. Thank you very much for the $50 super chat. And you say, enjoy your time in Ghana. Don't trick too hard. Trick lightly, as Soul Provider mentioned. Soul Provider Sama. He said, trick lightly. Yes. Wise words. Very wise words indeed. Very wise words indeed. So, let me get on in the chat. If the environment being competitive is a relevant characteristics of characteristic of this particular natural environment. Okay? So when we talk about street smarts and we're talking about jungle survival, natural survival, right? Natural survival. We are talking about an environment, competitive and also dangerous. The jungle, the concrete jungle, nature, competitive and dangerous. There are other things that we could add to that. But I think that these ones encapsulate and capture the real situation that we're trying to get to here. We're saying street smart, natural survival in a situation which is competitive and dangerous. Okay? Now, Rogers talked about a productive way of using common sense. So how about we just put it this way? How about we said this? That street smart is taking effective action in a competitive and dangerous environment. Would you guys agree to that? Would you guys agree to this definition, ladies and gentlemen? Effective action, right? Roger said a productive way, but we're going to say effective action because we're trying to get a certain outcome, a survival outcome, or maybe a growth outcome. But regardless of what it is, it's about getting what you want. Taking effective action to get what you want in a competitive and dangerous environment. This we can take for now to be our working definition of street smart. And then we're going to go further and unpack it. We're going to go further and unpack it and see what does it mean? How does one live? What kind of actions? How does one perceive? How does one perceive and how does one take actions in a competitive and dangerous environment? Let me go ahead and see what's going on here in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Capitalizing on opportunity. Definitely. Capitalizing on opportunity, taking effective action in a competitive and dangerous environment. Now, when I say competitive and dangerous environment, what comes to mind? Is it only the streets? Is it only the jungle? Well, let me mention and let me say that in any place where there is value to be gained, in any place where there are high stakes, in other words, whether you're selling drugs in the streets, which is the place where unfortunately the term tends to come from, or you're the CEO of a company, in the C-suite of a company, you are playing high stakes politics. You're playing a political game. You're running for president even, okay? You are in the highly competitive market in your particular industry. It may be that you're an electrician even, and you're trying to undercut your competitors. MOT might still be in the house, and he knows about competition in the transportation game, for example. Maybe you're competing for government contracts. These are high stakes environments. These are places that are competitive and dangerous. Now, danger varies. It may be reputational danger. It may be danger of losing it all. You risk up front a particular investment and you could lose it all. That is dangerous, right? That is dangerous. That is dangerous. So when we talk about street smart, which we are now using a working definition, okay, we're using this working definition that it is taking effective action in a competitive and dangerous environment. Well, what are these kinds of competitive and dangerous environments? Well, let me see here. It seems like this guy acting up on me. Of course it is. So maybe I may need to switch from PDF to PowerPoint. Let's go ahead and switch that. You can't do that, sir. You can't fool me. You cannot fool me. So I'm going to go ahead and do this little switch over here. But I think that this point is key here. Young Swift, does it make sense? Does it make sense that these environments that we're talking about are not just your hood, okay? It's talking about your ability to be number one in your class, number one in the particular pack, anywhere where there is value to be gained, anywhere where there are high stakes. Anything of value becomes a competitive environment. And when there is competition, there is danger, even as simple as the danger of loss, okay? It may be the NBA championship that you're going for, something like that. It becomes a competitive environment, and then there is danger, the danger of loss. As simple as that. Let me go ahead and switch over. Let's do this switch, share screen. And we build it. We build it, ladies and gentlemen, as we fly it. Exactly, you say. A hostile takeover of a competitor. It can be Verizon acquiring Sprint. Exactly. Okay. Or Westside Baltimore fighting. Yes. You can be fighting over drug territory, or you can be fighting to take over a telecommunications company. You could be fighting for the presidency. You could be fighting any kind of competitive battle where there are high stakes. There is danger involved in it because there is much to lose. There could be reputational damage that could be done. Okay? This is true of any kind of competitive environment. So let's go to where we were on the PowerPoint here. Well, the jungle is an environment with high stakes, any environment where there is value to be gained. And I think that point is very key here. That point is very key. So we're going to keep on top there our effective definition, our effective working definition that we're using, which is we've taken street smarts now and we've broken it a little bit down. Let me get a 1 in the chat if this breakdown so far helps. In other words, all we've done is words, okay? We have said, rather than use this phrase street smarts, which, I know it when I see it, it's kind of, being sly, being slick, being able to take advantage of opportunities. We start talking about particular instances whereby street smart applies. And we've said, hey, how about we just call it effective action? Okay. You see, I highlighted effective action. I highlighted competitive, and I highlighted dangerous. Effective action. Effective action in a competitive and dangerous environment, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and we're going to break this down. As you may suspect, this is not going to be a long one. This is going to be a simple one. But I think that it is definitely a stream that encapsulates most of the things that we talk about in this channel. On this channel, we talk about taking action. We talk about moving into the danger. We're talking about having your soft skills. We're talking about always being afraid, being scared. If the opportunity does not make you scared, here goes young Swift with his NPC talk again. If the opportunity does not make you scared, if you're not like, oh my God, will I be able to fulfill this? I just took on this contract. Will I be able to make it work? I just said yes to this particular project. Will I be able to make it work? I just say, hey, I'm going to take on a couple of employees and expand my company into the next state. Will I be able to make it happen? I'm looking to get this new license. Will I actually be able to pass the exam? Can I pull this off? And you wake up and you're sweating in the middle of the night. If you're not doing that, if you're not feeling that way, ladies and gentlemen, then the opportunity is not worthy of you. If you are not scared, the opportunity is not worthy of you. Okay? These are the kinds of things that we talk about in this channel. Okay? And we want to go ahead and say, what does it mean to be effective? Because it's not just in the street. We have seen that in anywhere, any environment where there is value to be gained and where you have high stakes, that this is the jungle, that this is nature. And we want to be street smart in there because this is the natural order. Because the opposite of being street smart Excuse me while I editorialize and take a tangent here. The opposite of being street smart is not understanding that right beneath the thin veneer of what people call civilization is raw, competitive, and dangerous nature waiting for you. People think that if I just follow the rules, people think that if I just treat people as though they were these nice little bunnies, okay, and that they will give me the outcomes that I deserve, and that the world should be fair, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. That's the opposite. That's the opposite, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Taboo Smash. Shout out to Taboo Smash. You're saying, will it give you chronic stress? No. We know that we talk about mastering of your subjective consciousness in this channel, and we know that simply living a stupid life of nothingness, working your 9 to 5 and then watching Game of Thrones afterwards will give you chronic stress and you'll die young anyways. So it's not a question of the life you're living that gives you chronic stress. It is a question of you not being able to master your subjective consciousness. Taboo, does that make sense? Or to the general chat, I think Taboo's question makes sense to me. He's saying, hey, being able to take effective action in a competitive environment, wouldn't that give you chronic stress? Well, let me mention a couple of things about that. My immediate answer is no. But what you should understand is you are in a competitive environment. You are in a dangerous environment. Because you pretend you're not in does not make it not so. But also, more importantly, people die of chronic stress just living their simple, basic, middle-class, useless lives. Okay? It is not the life you're living. It is your inability to master the feelings that arise in your body, the images in your head, and the talk in your head. Your inability to master your subjective consciousness, your inability to be in the zone, your inability to be relaxed. I don't care how high stakes the negotiation is. If you're relaxed, it doesn't matter. But some people have road rage simply driving to their job at Wendy's. Can I get a 1 in the chat if this makes sense, ladies and gentlemen? And if I'm addressing your question, sir, let me get a 1 if I'm addressing your question, sir. People die from chronic stress, not facing up to the fact that they're not going for the high stakes, not going for the things that they deserve. Sorry, not to use the stupid word deserve. Not going for the things of value in life, not expanding, not stressing, not emphasizing the taking of risk. So let me put it this way. This is something else we always say in the channel. And shout out to Red Sings the Blues. I think I just saw you dropping a nice little super chat. A nice little super chat. Ba, ba, ba. No, that wasn't you. I'm tripping. Exactly. The street smarts, the business sense, understanding how to effectively move within competitive environments. Okay? One last thing on what Taboo says. We know that on this channel, we constantly talk about the fact that you need to be stressed in order to grow, right? Your bones will atrophy if you're not stressing them, correct? Your muscles will atrophy if you're not stressing them, correct? What else? Your immune system, your skills, your brain cells, your networks, your relationships, everything dies if you're not stressing it. Okay? And what does this stress mean? This means controlled stress taking action that results in expansion, taking action that results in pushing the boundaries and the limits, right? It is not a question of chronic stress, which is a low grade, not acute. The opposite of chronic will be acute. Okay, acute stress is, wow, that was a stressful meeting. I had to bring my full senses to bear. I had to bring all my skills to bear. I had to really focus on the room. I was in the zone. It was an acute spike in the adrenaline, right? I took that run. I went and I did that pump in the gym. That's an acute situation. Acute is great. It helps you. You need it. Otherwise, you actually die if you don't get it. But chronic stress is going to Applebee's and living your stupid life with your stupid wife and your stupid kids, never doing anything of consequence. That's chronic stress. That's how people die every day, living stupid lives. That's chronic stress. Regardless, it is not what you're going for. It's your mastery, your level of mastery that really makes the difference. And by the way, you need to be stressing things anyways. Shout out to the super chatters. The super chatters in the house. Let me go ahead and see if I can post these up. Shout out to Mike. Thank you very much for the $15 super chat. And Great Britain. Thank you very much for the $10 super chat. Says, first time over here, appreciating the conversation. Much success to you, Ike. Thank you very much. Okay, so now that we have taken that little detour, yes, Jonathan, unfortunately, it's not my fault. As O'Shea would say, I know you're mad, but it's not my fault. But we understand that you need to stress yourself in order for things to actually succeed and grow. There is nothing about your biology or your psychology that is immune to the proposition that you either use it or lose it. Life is a use it or lose it proposition. Okay? We're not like washing machines. You keep your washing machine pristine in the corner, okay? You keep it nice in the bubble wrap and in a very hermetically sealed place. It's good. That's a mechanism. It's great. I keep you in bubble wrap. What's going to happen to you? You are literally going to die. And this is what kills people, number one. And then number two is their inability to master themselves. So watch my series on meditation. Master your subjective consciousness. We go on and on and on about that stuff, but that's not necessarily what we're talking about today. But there is always an arc. There is always something that relates everything together. After all, the universe is one. Shout out to Dr. Thunder in the house. So, if we go back to where we were, we're saying that taking effective action in a competitive and dangerous environment is, or could be said to be, the essence, okay, of what street smart is. So let's go ahead. Are you kidding me? I had some nice pictures of these people. Let me go ahead and see. Let me see what happened. Okay. Just imagine, okay? Imagine Jay the Fox, okay? Jay the Fox over here. And then we have James. All right. We have Jay the Fox and we have James. But the little avatars that I had for them seem to have disappeared. Jay the Fox and James. Poor James. And we're going to talk about the difference between Jay the Fox and James when it comes to action, effective action, that is, and when it comes to competition, and when it comes to the notion of danger. And we're going to talk about these two characters. We're going to see how they're different. And we're going to see how they're different within this particular framework or the framework with which we have defined street smart. Shout out to Audra in the house. All right. You guys are going to use your imaginations to imagine Jay the Fox and James. So let's go ahead and talk about action. Okay. Let's talk about action. When it comes to action, let's say, for example, that Jay the Fox and James, and these guys are related, by the way. Maybe they're both named James. Maybe one is Jackson, the other is James. But Jay the Fox and James are both in the import-export business. Okay? They're both in the import-export business. And as is the case with many other businesses, the game is kind of sewn up by a particular set of interest groups, if you will. And in this case, it's a racist interest group. Okay, let's say the Arabs, right? The Arabs have this particular import of cell phones to China sewn up. They don't let you get in. They don't let you get in. So how does Jay deal with this? And how does James deal with this? Jay said, okay. So it seems like I'm not going to be able to grow my business because the Arabs are not letting me into their network. They're not letting me sell to their distributors, okay, because I'm not of the right race, okay? Jay, the Fox, goes and he gets an ally on the Arab side, okay? He gets somebody that he can pay 30% profits to and says, hey, you're going to be my avatar. You're going to be my go-between guy, okay? No one is going to know about this, but I need to move my product. I need to move my product into your market. I don't care about the fact that you guys are racist or so on and so forth. I need to move my product into your market, okay? So now change scene and go to James. James is outraged about the fact that this racism exists. He is being put out of the market. We can think about many other kinds of examples, right? You're not being led into a particular network. There's nepotism, there's racism, there's this, there's that, and the other. And James is agitated and he's angry. And James thinks this should not exist. This should not be. And James, rather than deal with the world the way it is, he deals with the world the way he thinks it should be. And he starts agitating politically, and he makes YouTube videos, and he joins organizations. He goes to Black Lives Matter rallies, talking about how the Arabs are stopping him from selling his cell phones to China. But Jay the Fox, what does Jay the Fox do? No, Jay the Fox has made that connection with Ahmed or Mahmoud. And says, hey. I'll give you 30%, Ahmed. Yeah, we grew up in the same neighborhood. We have the same friends. I know that you're good for this particular aspect, okay? I know that your uncle has the hookup in this cell phone import industry, right? I need to move my product. My business has a chance of growing 20x, okay? That's 20 times. And I'm willing to give you 30% of that. Everything that I move through your network, you get 20% of it. You don't have to say anything about me. You don't know me, okay? Don't worry about it, Ahmed, Mahmoud. We can cut a deal. We can cut a deal. Street smarts, effective action in a competitive and dangerous environment, right? I don't need to tell you the particular individual that we could say is street smart in that case. You gonna take that, Eisen? Is Lord Eisen just gonna take that insult from Young Swift? Shout out, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about street smarts because it is something that we understand that it is very, very necessary. Okay, we have broken it down in terms of the words. We said street smarts. We can say jungle survival. We can say natural survival. What are the relevant parameters or the relevant attributes, the relevant characteristics of this jungle, this environment that we're trying to survive in? It is a competitive and dangerous environment. And okay, taking effective action in a competitive and dangerous environment we can use as our working definition for street smarts. And we say, good. And then we're now looking at two individuals. And sorry for the avatars not showing up. Jay the Fox and James. They are taking action. They are both in the import-export business. There is racism, nepotism, so on and so forth. There is a clique and network which they're being kept out of. James says this should not be. James goes to Black Lives Matter rally. James goes to talk to his city councilman. James goes to donate to certain political parties and talk about on YouTube channels how he's being held back. Jay the Fox, though, okay? You look, Jay the Fox could also do the same thing. Is there anything stopping Jay the Fox from working on the political side? Let me get a 1 in the chat if this makes sense. Jay the Fox, if you remember, right? He went and he said, hey, psst, psst, Ahmed, come over here, okay? I got a proposition for you. You're my dude, okay? We went to middle school together. I know that your uncle is part of that network selling cell phones to the Chinese. I need to grow my business 20x. I cannot grow it without getting in that network. I'll give you 30%. You're my man in there. You don't have to say anything about me. This is your operation. You just give me the 70%. Cool. Nothing stops Jay the Fox from doing that and also trying to fight against racism, right? Nothing stops Jay the Fox from doing both. But you see, people like James would rather deal with the world the way they think it should be rather than deal with the world as it is. And that is taking effective action in a competitive and dangerous environment. We're just highlighting one of the words now, action, effective action. What does it mean to take effective action? That's action that actually works. You see, James is now moving hella cell phones into the Chinese market. He just 20x'd his business. He is giving Mahmoud or Ahmed or Ibrahim 30%, but that's no problem. 30% versus keeping your business at 1/20th of what it could be when you operate in the world as it is. Young Swift. Shout out to Unspecialist in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to the Unspecialist in the house. Jay makes money, has extra time because he's already got a middleman. Then he buys himself a campaign or candidate. Exactly, Audra. I didn't have to say it. I didn't have to say it. You see, some people sit there agitating the James of the world. Okay, they sit there like, oh my God, they will not let me into their network. It should not be this. This is an outrage. He is actually outraged. He actually thinks that these Arabs should just give him it should give him the password, the cheat code. He thinks the world should be fair. Jay the Fox, the street smart guy, the guy that understands jungle law, knows that he is in a jungle, even if there are nice street lights and a grid of streets and addresses and so on and so forth. No matter how elaborate the veneer of civilization is, it's just a thin veneer. And being street smart means taking effective action, means action that actually works in the world as it is. Yes. Jay 20x'd his business. Jay has money and time. Jay could buy a candidate. Jay could change the rules. Jay could literally now start building his own network where he can keep other people out. While James keeps on complaining and going to Black Lives Matter rallies. Exactly. Without resources, all that symbolism, all that aesthetic level, topical level talk, that's not street smart. That's not taking effective action. That is not street smart. That is the definite opposite of it. Okay? So, because we're breaking down this term, and we're breaking it down in a very simple, measurable, actionable, intuitive way, the same way that we do every other thing in this channel, we are saying that when it comes to action, that the street smart person, Jay the Fox, deals with the world as it is, while the opposite deals with the way he thinks. And by the way, key there, the way he thinks it should be. Okay? And he talks about fairness and this and that and the other. You see, Jay the Fox and James are related, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, they're related. And they have this uncle, Uncle Bob. They have Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob is the cool uncle. The cool uncle. You know about the cool uncle, right? Young Swift. Shout out to MOT. The cool uncle is is one of the recurring characters at MOT's channel. See, they both have an uncle, the cool uncle, Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob is a drug addict, okay? Uncle Bob is kind of a loser. But Jay and James, okay? Jay the Fox and James, they like to hang out with Uncle Bob, okay? They go over there, they play some spades or dominoes or whatever. They drink some beer, they talk some whatever. Uncle Bob tries to teach him some game. Uncle Bob tries to teach him how to use their mouthpiece. You see, Uncle Bob used to be an accountant. The last real job he held, he was an accountant. And as we know, Jay the Fox and James are both in the import-export business. You see now, Jay the Fox is 20 times bigger than James because he made the deals with Ahmed and Mahmoud and whomever, right? But you see, Uncle Bob goes to James and Jay the Fox. Uncle Bob says what? He says, hey, I'm an accountant, you know, I haven't worked in a while, blah, blah, blah. Uncle Bob uses his mouthpiece on them, okay? His slick mouthpiece on them and says, how about you give me a job? Yeah, Eisen. He doesn't really, Jay the Fox doesn't really claim James like that, you know. He doesn't really claim James like that. But, you know, when they go to Uncle Bob, it's all cool, though. When they go to Uncle Bob, they can hang out, they can let their hair down. You know, Uncle Bob gets down on the grill, you know. He's a functional drug addict, though. You know what I mean? He comes to them. He says, hey, how about you give me a job? I could run your blah, blah, blah. I could control these funds over here. What does Jay the Fox say to Uncle Bob? What does Jay the Fox say to Uncle Bob? He says, hey, bruh, you're cool. I like you. But dude, you're a drug addict. It's not going to be, I deal with the world as it is. He doesn't say this part, right? But he knows that he deals with the world as it is. And just because you're a family member doesn't mean I'm going to give you access to my funds or controlling my accounts and stuff. Hell, are you crazy? I like to hang out with you once every other month and we shoot the breeze and we talk. Yeah, me and cousin James, we like to kick it with you. But hell no, I'm going to give you an accounting job. You see, Jay the Fox knows that trust has its definition and its limits. He trusts Uncle Bob. He trusts Uncle Bob to be a drug addict. He also trusts Uncle Bob to throw down on the grill and tell all kinds of good stories and think, that he has the best game and try to tell him about mouthpiece and all that crap. He trusts Uncle Bob, the loser, within certain parameters. But you see, what does James do? James thinks, oh, Uncle Bob is my family. Uncle Bob should be able to take care of it. I should. You see, he thinks about what he should do as opposed to what is. Effective action in a competitive and dangerous environment. Street smart. We're breaking it down, ladies and gentlemen. We are seeing how effective action is taken. Effective action is action that is actually effective in the world. Not the world of your imagination, but the world as it is. You don't care that the Arabs have the market cornered. You don't care that whatever racial or nepotistic roadblock is in front of you. You are going to make the deals. Jay makes the deals. You don't care that Uncle Bob is your cousin. You are not gonna he is not gonna come within miles of your bank account or your accounting. Hell no, Uncle Bob. Hell no. But you see, James, because he likes to think about the world the way it should be, and he thinks that he should allow Uncle Bob access to his money, and that Uncle Bob should, kind of perform his familial duties and be trustworthy, and Uncle Bob should not screw me, right? But we all know what happens to the fledgling or the business of Mr. James as a result of giving Uncle Bob that opportunity. He gives Uncle Bob that opportunity. What does Uncle Bob do? Uncle Bob does what Uncle Bob does. Okay? He siphons some funds. He goes tricking. He siphons some funds. He goes tricking and he goes, he spends it on blow and hookers. That's what Uncle Bob does. See, Jay the Fox knows this. Part of the reason why Jay the Fox likes to hang out every other month at Uncle Bob's is because he knows that Uncle Bob's is that kind of guy, and he's good for a couple of stories or two, right? He keeps Uncle Bob in a box. Jay deals with the world the way it actually is. He understands the contours of the landscape. He understands that you can only trust within limits. He understands that just because his buddies from high school come to him and say, hey, you know what? How about you let me in on this or do this for me or whatever? Or, hey, how about, we're brothers, we're part of the community. Hey, I know your brother James, your cousin James, he goes to the Black Lives Matter rallies and stuff, but how about helping us black brothers in your business? Like, Jay the Fox is like, no. I do effective things that get the outcomes that I want. I'm not going to let you anywhere near my business unless I know that you actually are going to be effective. I'm not going to let Uncle Bob anywhere near my finances because I know Uncle Bob is only good for drugging and tricking. That's it. Shout out to Jonathan Barronville again in the house. Thank you very much for the super chat. A perfect example is how the pro-black community and other activists, a lot of them my friends, always come for Jay-Z's philanthropy, other strategic moves without understanding how brilliant he is at acquiring resources. 100%. Jay-Z is a perfect example. Who is the other guy? Is the other guy, is it Damon Dash? Is Damon Dash the other person I'm thinking of? Dame, right? Damon Dash, the counterpart of Jay-Z. You see, Damon Dash would be kind of like the James of this situation. And Jay-Z, is Jay the Fox. The name even works. You see, Damon Dash talks about, the culture vultures and the black community and the this and the that and the trust of the, the blah, 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 blah. And it's like, Jay-Z is like, I'm going to do what's effective. You see, Jay-Z comes out, he starts rapping. People don't really like his rapping. Now, I don't condone you go selling drugs, okay? But he made effective moves in order to get resources while also pushing his music. Right? He deals with the landscape the way it is. He partners with people whom he knows can take him to the next level. The same way Jay the Fox partnered with Ahmed in order to 20x his business, giving Ahmed 30% so he gets into the Middle Eastern network so he can move his cell phones to China. That's taking effective action in a competitive and dangerous landscape. Effective action in a competitive landscape. Effective action in a competitive landscape. So, let me get a 1 in the chat now. If the action part, the effective action part of this particular trifecta, the trifecta being effective action, competitive, and dangerous. We are saying, hey, when you hear that word street smarts, and when we know already that we're talking about an environment that applies to not just the streets, but also anywhere where there is value to be gained. It could be your church even, okay? You're trying to be the head, pastor of the church or whatever. You're trying to lead any group of people. You're trying to gain value. You're trying to change anything. It may be in politics or in business. It may be in a school or whatever it may be where the stakes are high, where there is value to be gained. This becomes a competitive and dangerous environment where street smarts applies. You see, the CEO in the C-suite and also, unfortunately, the drug dealer in the corner, they are one and the same person. They are not different. They're not different. It's the same dude. It's literally the same dude. Point is, why go selling streets and drugs in the corner, destroying your people, living a dangerous life, ending up dead or in jail, when you can take the same skill and you could take it to the top of wherever. It's the same dude, it's the same set of skills, it's taking effective action in a competitive and dangerous landscape. It's understanding from the action point of view that the world is what it is. Uncle Bob is who he is. Just because you think that you should be kind to Uncle Bob doesn't mean Uncle Bob is not going to embezzle your money and go tricking with it. That's what Uncle Bob does. Just because you think the Middle Easterners should let you into the business doesn't mean they will. And doesn't mean you should be waiting around. No, you are going to go ahead and you're going to make moves. You're going to cut deals. You're going to cut deals with the devil. If that's what it takes to move your product, that is street smart. Black man being brutally honest. Shout out to you. You real. Yes, uncle is a trick. Uncle is a drug using trick. So, yes, you trust Uncle Bob to be Uncle Bob. So I see ones in the chat. That means we understand that when it comes to taking effective action, it's about seeing the world as it is. This cannot be stressed too much. This cannot be overemphasized. This is super key. This is a key to all kinds of success. You cannot go agitating or for the world as you would love it to be, as it should be in your head. Well, first of all, who are you to talk about the world as it should be? You have a goal. Life is short. Resources are sparse. Opportunities are few and far between. You see the opportunity, you take advantage of it, as was mentioned earlier in the chat. When we started just talking about street smart, we're like, it's about making, I think the Roger report mentioned something about productive use of experience, right? Taking advantage of opportunities, those kinds of things. These are all instances of it. But we're trying to break it down to one sentence. We've broken it down to one sentence so far, and we're now breaking that sentence even further. We said that you can call it jungle survival, concrete jungle survival, but that it is a nature kind of survival. What kind of survival are we talking about? We're talking about survival in an environment that is competitive and dangerous. We're talking about, therefore, taking effective action that actually gets the outcomes that you want in a competitive and dangerous environment. And now we're painting the picture of the two types of characters and how they operate, one being street smart and one being not. But it cannot be overemphasized, the importance to your success in life, to deal with the world as you see it, as opposed to complaining about how it should be. As we mentioned, Jay the Fox actually has more of an opportunity to change the world than James. Because you see, James thinks, okay, I need to act, the world, blah, 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 and it's not fair. It's not fair. It is not fair. Exactly. You can't blind your eyes to the incoming vehicles if you're trying to cross the street. You can't say blah, 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 blah. Uncle Bob should be good to me. Or why aren't the Arabs letting me in? Let me go to daddy government or whomever to let the Arabs, let me into their network. Can't move a mountain unless you know where it's at. That's a good one. That's a good one. That is a good one. So apologies again for my camera not behaving. Apologies also for starting this late. Apologies for the avatar of Jay the Fox and Jay the Fox and James not showing up. But perhaps it's even better. You guys can now use your imagination. Just my imagination, running away from me. It was just my imagination. You know what I'm saying? So, now, when it comes to competition, you see, this aspect is actually more straightforward. The competition aspect is very straightforward, ladies and gentlemen. The difference between Jay the Fox and James when it comes to competition, we don't even have to think about it too much. Based on the fact that Jay the Fox deals with the world as it is, he understands that in order to move that mountain, as Audra said, in order to do something where there are high stakes, there is high risk involved. Can I get a 1 in the chat if this makes sense? If you can already intuit, if you can already understand, if you can already imagine that Jay the Fox is the kind of person that does not expect for this thing to not be risky. Jay the Fox is the kind of person that is not going to be like, oh, well, I am going to play by the rules. No, you're going to need to break some rules. You're going to need to break all kinds of rules in order to do anything that is of value, ladies and gentlemen. Our famous example here, Uber, comes through, break the rules of the taxi cab unions and the taxi cab ordinances in various cities and so on and so forth. Airbnb comes through, breaks the rules of the hotel industry. Facebook comes through, breaks the non-existent rules about data. No one knew that data was worth billions of dollars. No one knew that simply having your information in a database was worth billions of dollars. The rules are made by a cohort of people that are trying to protect their interests. The rules are made by a cohort of people that are trying to protect their interests. You see, James, while complaining about the Arabs and how they don't let him into the network, you see, James is still, going to, Black Lives Matter rallies and complaining to city council people and filing all kinds of whatever, talking about how, there's nepotism and racism is stopping him from selling cell phones, while Jay the Fox is making millions of dollars because he has made the right connections. It's like, okay, Ahmed, Mahmoud, there's always an Ahmed or Mahmoud in whichever group of people that is quote unquote keeping you out. There is always someone you can cut a deal with. Isn't that right, Young Swift? Isn't that right, Q Dog? Isn't that right, Eisen? Eisen, isn't there always someone in that network, that nepotistic network, that family group, that particular network of whomever, that union or whatever it may be, there is always someone you can cut a deal with. The nature of the deal and so on and so forth, that's for you to figure out. But rather than sit there and be like, oh, it's not fair, there's always somebody that you can cut that deal with, and boom, 20x your cell phone import-export business. Now you're flooding your phones, or you're flooding China with your phones. Exactly, Ray Hannah. So, it is well understood, before we even get to it, that Mr. J the Fox knows that rules are going to be breaking, risks are going to be taken. Okay, let's go back to their business. Okay, I just thought about this one. Let's see here. So remember, import, export. They're moving electronics, phones, and so on and so forth. The big market is in China. The Middle Easterners have that market cornered. There is while James calls it racist, but Jay the Fox is just like, well, that's how it is. I expect them to want to sew up the game, to corner the market. I expect them to keep me out. However, I'm going to find an Ahmed I'm going to make a deal with. Okay, so now let's talk about the aspect of competition and understanding that is a big risk, big reward game, which Jay the Fox understands. Boom. Now China puts a kibosh, puts a lockdown, puts restrictions on this import of cell phones. Okay, so James is exporting cell phones from South Korea, Samsung, so on and so forth. He's exporting those to China. Okay, let's just imagine there's a big market for that in China. But China's like, no more tariffs, restrictions, blocks, all that kind of stuff. They start blocking the market. Okay. The little bit of cell phones that James is able to get in, the few cell phones James is able to get in because, he didn't make that deal with Ahmed. Everything dries up. He can't even get that stuff in anymore. Jay the Fox knows that this is a high stakes game. He's going to need to make a high stakes move here. What does he do? Jay the Fox finds a connection in Russia. And he says, hey, Russian oligarch, I know that you guys import things from North Korea into China. I know you guys got that special railway access. Okay. You guys run North Korea a little bit along with China, and you guys are able to do business. I know. What is it going to take for me to get a little bit of my phones into those trains that you run back and forth, supplying Kim Jong-un with the Hennessy that he needs? Okay. What is it going to take for my cell phone business not to dry up? My cell phone business will not dry up. You see, he understands, Jay the Fox, that is, that he's going to need to take risks. Now, what Jay the Fox is doing here, going to a Russian oligarch and trying to go through North Korea, this is dangerous stuff. This is dangerous stuff. Okay, there is risk of ruin, perhaps even risk of death. Someone could get kidnapped in his family or something like that when you start messing with the Russians and, trying to move product through North Korea. Because the Chinese will allow that. Because there's always a hole, ladies and gentlemen. There is always a window. There is always a back door or something. Because you see, the rule-bound people, the people like James, the people who are not street smart, the people who do not take effective action in competitive and dangerous landscapes, they're like, oh my God, they put the tariffs. What am I going to do? I have to go campaign for this other person that says, whatever, and down with China, and we need to blah, 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 blah. But Jay the Fox, he knows there is always a back door. He knows that Russia gets what they want in, especially via North Korea. He knows that Kim Jong-un gets his Hennessy. He knows that Kim Jong-un gets his Hennessy. The 50th Law by 50 Cent and Robert Greene. Yep, Robert Greene wrote the 48 Laws of Power, right? Or is it the 49? Or they skipped 49 and went straight to 50? 50 Cent, 50th Law. Yes, 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 yes. Okay? That is a good read. That is a good read. And it talks about these kinds of things. It talks about the world as it is. And we don't need to get all, it is not, what am I trying to say? The concept is not as exotic as people may try to make it seem. People make it seem like this big time Machiavellian thing. Like, oh my God, it's a secret. Can I get a 1 in the chat if what I'm saying makes sense right now? People try to make it seem like it's a secret. What is a secret? People try to make the world the way it is seem like a secret. Like, oh, shh, did you know that the world is competitive and dangerous? Did you know that Uncle Bob is a drug dealer? A drug addict. And if you gave him money, did you know that you can only trust people within limits? Did you know that you have to take effective action? Did you know that there's always a back door? Did you know that No, this is not a secret. This is nothing. It is not that complicated, ladies and gentlemen. Effective action in a competitive landscape, in a dangerous landscape, which the world always is. I don't care how much glass and marble is around. As a matter of fact, the more glass and marble is around, the more dangerous and competitive the environment is. It's just a thin layer of quote unquote civilization that is deceiving you. Indeed, indeed, indeed. So, now, guess what? Just like the Bushes or just like the Clintons, just like everyone whom is making moves and getting outcomes that they want, my man Jay the Fox is now in league with Russian oligarchs. And he's moving his cell phones through North Korea. He's moving those South Korean cell phones through North Korea because he knows that Kim Jong-un needs his Hennessy, and he's going to get his Hennessy. And he knows that the Russians run that little transport system. Russians, China, North Korea. He knows that that's a backdoor. He does not go around saying, oh my God, this is so unfair. He is not rule bound. He understands that in order to do things in this world, you're going to need to break some rules. Break some omelets and make some eggs. It is not something that should be a foreign concept to you. Remove the idea that these rules are necessarily tied to morality. Does that make sense, young Swift? The idea that, oh, I got to follow the rules because if I'm not a good teacher's pet, then I'm a bad man. I'm a bad boy. I'm a bad girl. No. You may or may not have morality, but regardless, this has nothing to do with morality. This is a set of people, an interest group, whom want to prevent other people from getting into their coffers. They don't want you to get the gold. They don't want you to get the cell phone market, the same way the Middle Easterners stopped Jay the Fox and James until Jay the Fox made that deal with Mahmoud. Hey, Mahmoud, I give you 30%, not 20x my business. He understands. He understands that rules are going to have to be broken. Rules are going to have to be broken. Okay? No risk, no reward. Break rules in order to win. This is part of the mindset of Jay the Fox. What is James doing? James expects to win by being rule bound, by following the rules. He expects fairness. He goes around saying, you know what, the Chinese are not playing fair. He does not even consider the fact that there is a back door, there is a window, there is a hole, there is a plug that he could use. He thinks, oh my God, that's so dangerous. You see, at this point, Jay the Fox is not even telling James these moves he's making, because Jay the Fox, he's keeping James safe, right? He's giving James plausible deniability, right? He knows also that James will mess up the whole business for him. And he doesn't want to hear all that wimpy stuff about, oh my God, how could you do that? It's so dangerous, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, nope. Nope. If I don't take these big risks, how do I expect to get these big rewards? Because you see, James talks a good game. James talks a good game about how, if the community came together, we could take over the whole cell phone market and this and that and the other. But James does not deal with the world the way it is. He deals with the world the way he thinks it should be. He expects fairness. He expects to win by following the rules. He has this weird thing where he thinks that all rules are necessarily a matter of morality. He thinks that taking risks is a bad thing. He does not understand. Shit or get off the pot. Can't stand the heat, get the hell out of the kitchen. Jay the Fox knows. Jay the Fox knows. Yeah, we know how you roll, Jonathan. Shout out to K Polymath, Audra Brown, Sister George in the house, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about street smart. What does it mean? How can we break it down? These things that we think we understand. Where does it apply? It is about taking effective action. Effective action is about dealing with the world as it is, not as you think it should be. In a competitive landscape whereby you're going to need to break rules, high stakes, high risks, rule breaking, that this is just part of it. That, you see, Jay the Fox expects this, and you should too. We talked about where this is applicable. Because people tend to think, oh, well, it's only applicable if I'm a drug dealer. If I'm not a drug dealer, then I could just expect fairness in the world. I could just expect things to fall on my lap. I should deal with the world as I think it should be. No, if you're going to do anything of consequence, you're going to need to move like Jay the Fox. No matter what that thing may be, it doesn't matter. It's all the jungle out there to the degree to which there is value to be gained, to the degree to which there are high stakes involved. So, how about danger? How about danger? Okay? How about danger? Let's go to the beginning about how these two individuals started their business. See, Jay the Fox and James, as we know, these are cousins. They are in the import-export business. We know that Jay the Fox deals with the world as it is. We know that he made deals with the Middle Eastern network in order to get his cell phones into China. He did not complain about nepotism and racism and blah, blah, blah. He expects them. He expects whatever the power, the incumbent power that is there, he expects them to block him from getting in. Can I get a 1 in the chat if this expectation is something that is clear to you? You should expect that whomever has power right now, whomever has access right now, should be blocking your ass from trying to get in. Of course they should be blocking you. If somebody let James in the front door, Jay the Fox will actually be suspicious. Jay the Fox is like, no, I'm not going in that front door. I'm not going in there. What's going on? Why are you letting me in? What's the catch? Jay the Fox understands nature. Jay the Fox understands the world the way it is. Jay the Fox understands that just because people have starched white shirts doesn't mean that they're not ruthless human beings, because he is playing a game where there is value to be gained. He understands that, hey, I'm trying to corner the cell phone market over in this part of the world. Of course there are interests there that are going to keep me out. They would be stupid to let me in. But you see people like James are like, oh, it's racism, it's racism, it's racism. It's nepotism, it's some other ism. And Jay the Fox is like, yeah, keep doing that. I'm going to go make a deal with Ahmed, right? But remember, they both started their business. And we're talking now about the danger aspect. Because Jay the Fox deals with the world the way it is, he also expects a certain level of danger. That's why he expected that people are not going to let him in. But you see what? Before they started this business, okay, about 6 months before they started the business, they were looking into how they're going to get into it. They kind of were doing it independently. You know, James wanted to team up with Jay the Fox. Young Swift, you know how that goes, right? James is like, Jay the Fox, man, we should put in together in this business, blah, blah, blah. But Jay the Fox, just as he knows that he's not going to make Uncle Bob his accountant because Uncle Bob is a drug addict, even though I hang out with Uncle Bob and we grill and Uncle Bob tries to teach me game and all that crap, I'm not going to give Uncle Bob any money, and I'm not going to let him anywhere near my money. The same way before they started the business, you see, James was like, hey, Jay, let's combine. And Jay the Fox is like, I don't really think so. Because Jay the Fox understands that you only trust within a limit. He understands that trust has a definition. Trust has borders. He trusts Uncle Bob to be Uncle Bob. He trusts that Uncle Bob will screw him, and silly and stupid you for giving Uncle Bob your money. So he said, hey, sorry, James, but I think we should do this alone. Sorry, but I think we should do this alone. So they're doing the research, right? They're trying to figure it out. How does Jay the Fox move when he's trying to start a business versus how does James move? Yeah, Shozan is trigger happy. How does Jay the Fox move? You see what Jay the Fox does? And this kind of goes hand in hand, or, watch my last stream with Dr. Thunder where we talked about how to manage a team or a group. We said that it is very important to know how everything works. It is very important to know how every aspect of the business works. In other words, okay, take, for example, Joe Rogan. Right? He started his podcast with one person. And now he still runs the podcast with one person. You know why? Because he went through the entire arc. What kind of software do we need? How do we do this and how do we do that? How do we build the studio? Oh, we need this particular thing. Oh, we get a roadcaster. Oh, we set up the mics this way, blah, blah, blah. In other words, he knows how to do the whole thing himself. So, unlike other podcasters who have a team of 10 people, he knows it only takes one person. And he knows, hey, it used to be Brian Redband. Now it is Young Jamie. And him and Young Jamie run that podcast. Other people who don't know, okay, who haven't done everything, think, oh, some consultant comes in and says, oh, we need a team of this and we need your lighting guy, your camera guy, and we need the blah, blah, blah. Did you know that we need the marketing, blah, 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 blah. And they take all your freaking money. Point is, you need to know how every aspect of any task you're trying to do works in order to effectively manage it. Because you're not going to be a sucker. You are not going to be a sucker. You're not going to fall for people trying to take advantage of you. Okay? And this is a sidebar, and we're going somewhere. And shout out to, is that Malika? It's not Malika, is it? They're trying to start out their business. And I referred to the last stream because it just occurred to me that we talked about how in order to be a good manager of people, you need to have done everything. Okay? You want to be a good engineering manager, you need to have done everything from acquiring the business, doing the project management and so on and so forth, doing some of the accounting aspects that need to be done. How do you price the job? You need to have used the latest tools that are used for the drafting, the latest software that is used for design. You want to be a good accounting manager, you need to, point being, go through the entire spectrum of tasks that need to be done for a job so that you can effectively manage, so that you can commiserate. You know how long things take, you know how hard things are, and you cannot be fooled by somebody coming to you saying you need a 10-man team for your podcast when Joe Rogan just has one person. The biggest podcast in the world just has one person. Why? Because Joe Rogan did the whole damn thing himself to this point. So he knows exactly what it takes. So back to our characters. Jay the Fox and James. They are starting their business. They are starting their business. Jay the Fox, after telling James, no, let's do it separately, because Jay the Fox understands that there's boundaries to trust, and Jay the Fox knows that he moves differently than James. He moves in a manner that it acknowledges the truth and the reality of the world. Jay the Fox studies every little aspect of it. Jay the Fox starts moving individual cell phones. Okay, where do I get the cell phones? How do I organize the shipping of the cell phones? What are the different taxes, accounting, and tariffs, and this and that and the other? What kind of bank accounts do I need? In which countries do I need to set up these bank accounts? Okay. How do I deal with the duties and all those other fees and so on and so forth on the other end? Okay. Whom are the buyers of these cell phones? Okay. Jay the Fox studies it all. Jay the Fox actually takes a trip out to China. Okay. Moves a few cell phones. He does the whole job. James, you know what James did? James started studying, looking things up online, and he joined a Facebook group called Import Export or something like that. He joins a Facebook group. Okay? He joins this Facebook group and they say, hey, we got the lowdown on this import-export business. We have a network of people that know this stuff. They trade ideas and so on and so forth. They're talking. He's not actually doing, though. You see, Jay the Fox has already moved like 50 cell phones to China while James is still just studying things. Shout out to C Shields. Thank you very much for the super chat. You said, I thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Looking forward to connecting in the near future. Keep up the great work. And speaking of connecting, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming close to the point where we're going to open up a Discord server. And we're going to announce the tiers and so on and so forth. And as I mentioned in the last stream, or 2 streams ago, we also have a Patreon. And in the Patreon, you're going to have the ability coming soon to do 2 things. What are the benefits of being in the Patreon? 2 things. Shout out to Chaos Rain. 2 things. Number 1, influence the direction of the show. And then number 2, get one-on-one interaction. Also, by the way, you're going to get Patreon-only content. For example, I'm in Ghana right now. I'm going to be taking some footage. I'm going to be also including the footage of when I was in Ghana last time and so other things like that. Some people want to see that stuff. You want to see that stuff? It's going to be only on Patreon. Let me say that again. We have a Patreon. Go over there. Go to Patreon. Look for Ike Ogamian. Yes. Go ahead. While it's still cheap. Join. Be early. You're going to get the ability to do 2 things coming soon. Number 1, influence the direction in terms of, let's say, ask questions. And then we'll have like a monthly Patreon questions and answers. And also one-on-one consultations. Right? 10 minutes. We talk. We could post it online or you could keep it private. And that's on you. That is on you. Exactly, Jonathan. Buy low, sell high. Get that, secure that Patreon position. It may be worth a lot. It will be worth a lot in the future. As a matter of fact, it is already worth a lot because those of you whom are here because you understand the value that we share and produce over here. So, James is out there Facebooking and networking and talking to people about, the import and the export and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Jay the Fox has already started making moves. He's already getting the muscle memory of how I buy the phones, how I contact the people. He already traveled to China to look at to get a feel for the marketplace. He has made some friends in China, okay? Indeed. Jay the Fox is doing all that. Unfortunately, or as circumstances will have it, because, James told Jay the Fox to join this Facebook group as well. It's like, oh, so they joined the Facebook group together. Because, James is his cousin. So Jay the Fox like, what does it hurt? I'm just going to be there. I'm going to watch, right, what's going on. So James encounters some Nigerians. Uh-oh. In the Facebook group, James encounters some Nigerians. Okay? And any Nigerians out there, don't start bitching. I'm Nigerian myself, okay? So don't. He encounters some Nigerians in the Facebook group. While Jay the Fox is doing what he knows to be effective, which is you need to actually get your hands dirty and do things on a small scale level before you outsource. James encounters these Nigerians. The Nigerians say, hey, James, we got this network. Okay. Oh, you want to, export of phones to China. No problem, brother. No problem. James encounters Ike and Soul. Encounter Ike and Soul. Hey, remember, we're talking about the sense of danger. We're talking about the sense of expectation of danger. This is a key aspect of taking effective action in a competitive and dangerous landscape, which we have defined street smarts to be. Yes. James encounters some Nigerians. The Nigerians tell James, hey, if you just give us half of the fee to import this stuff. As a matter of fact, you know how us Nigerians are. They had all the documents. They had all the websites, right? They had the networks, seemingly. They had all the experience. Like, oh yeah, we got this game sewn up. James, because he's an idiot, because he doesn't understand that, hey, I need to go and do these things myself. I need to go and do these things myself. I need to understand how each particular step in the process works. How each step in the particular process, that is, works. The Nigerians came through. They came through with all that good Nigerian mouthpiece. And you see, Jay the Fox knew about this, right? James went and he told Jay the Fox, oh yeah, my friend, my friend Chinedu and Emeka in the Facebook group, They do this stuff, man. They've been exporting, blah, 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 blah. All we got to do is give them $50,000 and blah, blah. And two things arise. Number one, Jay the Fox knows that you cannot trust anyone. Jay the Fox knows to run experiments. Jay the Fox knows that he needs to have networks within networks within networks of people that have vetted other people, and still he needs to test them, and he needs to have something on them. Okay? He needs to have something on them before he can trust them. Number two, okay, because number one, he knows he doesn't trust anybody anyway. It's just like Jay the Fox is a person operating in nature, operating in the jungle, operating in a competitive and dangerous environment, which the world is. He deals with the world as it is, while James is a fool, to be frank. And Mecca and Chinedu and, the rest of the Nigerian gang say certain things that don't sound quite right to Jay the Fox. Why? Because Jay the Fox also knows, because he's been doing it. Well, first of all, he knows that he needs to do things himself before he outsources. And then certain processes, certain things that these guys were saying did not make sense to him. But James insisted that he was going to go through with it. James insisted, like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go with these guys. I'm going to take out my 401k. I'm going to withdraw my 401k money, and I'm going to give it to Emeka and Chinedu, the Nigerian export people. They did it for all these other people in the chat. You see? It's going to be easy. You see, James does not expect danger. James thinks it's going to be easy. James does not expect, or James thinks that you just meet people like this and opportunities just fall on your lap like that. Jay the Fox says, hey, it might be true. It might be true. This might work out for you, James. But I think there's about an 80% chance that it won't work out. The 20% chance that it works out, oh, great. You lucked out. You were able to go through all these steps that I've been taking. It's been a year now. This is before they started the business. It's been a year, and my man, Jay the Fox, has moved over 200 cell phones now with his just simple, systematic way. He does it by himself. He does every single step by himself because he's learning the game. He's learning all the nooks and crannies and the corners and everything. Okay? So some things that these Nigerians were saying and the website didn't smell quite right. But it was like, hey, James, if you want to do that, go ahead. Well, we need not worry. We don't need to wonder about what happened to James' 401k money. We don't need to wonder what happened to James's 401k money. It disappeared. And you see, people like James, they start thinking, oh, it's the Nigerians and it's this and it's that. Just like he was like, oh, it's racism, remember after they started the business, because this is prior to the business. Okay. So James recovered afterwards, and then he started the business anyways. Okay. But Jay the Fox was already ahead. And because Jay the Fox did everything by himself, he kind of knew all the nitty gritty, and he already knew about Ahmed and Ahmed's uncle in the Middle Eastern network that has the game sewn up in China. That's how he was able to make that deal. Okay, Ahmed or Mahmoud, I give you 30%. And he was able to 20x his business. His business grew 20 times because he was able to get into that Middle Eastern network that has the China import game sewn up. People like James will say, oh, racism. People like James will say, oh, it was the Nigerians. It's like, no, this is the landscape. It's not racism. It's not racism because the Arabs are cornering the market and keeping you out. Jay the Fox expects the incumbent powers, the people whom have vested interests. He expects them to keep him out. What do you think unions are about? What do you think these city ordinances about whom is allowed to dig a hole in this corner is about? It's about people, vested interests, and so on and so forth that are there to keep you out. Anyways, James loses his money. What is James's attitude towards danger? Okay? James's attitude towards danger is that he believes, he does not expect danger. However, Jay the Fox is skeptical. He runs experiments. He is not a sucker. He does not, hey, it's no animosity. No animosity to the Nigerians. He's just like, I don't know these people. I haven't run tests yet. They're not in the network. I don't have anything on them. It's not like I know their cousins' and I've done business with their family, and I've also done little tasks with them. You see, Jay the Fox built his own network. How did he build his own network? He used people that he already knows and people that were recommended to him by trusted parties. And does he immediately start throwing money at these people? No. Because remember, okay, Jay the Fox is doing things by himself. How does he grow his team, right? Because James thinks, oh, I'm going to just give the Nigerians $50,000 and then, boom, it's going to happen. Jay the Fox starts small. Jay the Fox does things on a granular level. Jay the Fox knows how every step works. He knows everything. He has been to China. He knows where the phone arrives. He knows the people that sell the phones in the stores where they arrive. He knows everything from the taxes and the duty and the this and the that and the import and the shipping. He knows everything. So how does he build his team? He builds his team one person at a time, okay, one task at a time. He does not say, hey, here is $50,000 to you. No, he gives people small tasks and he tests them. He runs experiments. He says, okay, I know this person, they're recommended, I got it, they're part of this network, I got something on them. Can I trust them with a $100 deal? Can I trust them with a $200 deal? Let me do a few $500 deals with them. Okay, so you have a few of these people and he's running these experiments with them. Okay, cool. Let me send this particular one guy to go to the UPS store with 50 caseloads of my cell phones. Okay, he gradually goes from $100, $200, $500, 50 caseloads a few times, and this is how he knows the probability of this person, therefore, cheating him. Does this point make sense? Let me get a 1 in the chat if the danger point makes sense. In other words, skepticism. An important part of being street smart, which is taking effective action in the competitive and dangerous landscape, is skepticism. Being empirical, being an empiricist, running experiments, not being a sucker. Okay? Because he still thinks in probabilities, Jay the Fox, right? He's just saying, okay, the probability that this person will screw me for $100 is low. Probability that they'll screw me for $500 is low. Okay, now let me go to this next level of probability and let's run these experiments. In other words, he never trusts anybody or any situation 100%. Never. He never trusts anyone or anything 100%. He is a thoroughgoing empiricist. He just has statistical knowledge based on the experiments that he has run. He is definitely not going to go with the Nigerians that say, hey, give me $50,000 and I'll take care of it for you. Yeah, just give me $50,000 and you pay the half of this and you send this other to the Cash App and the blah, 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 blah. He knows that that's not how the game works. The game doesn't work that way. Shout out to Game Changer. An important part of this danger aspect here is don't be the turkey. Because you see, don't be the stupid turkey. I don't know if you guys have heard that. Let's say Jay the Fox and James were turkeys. Okay, and they're being grown or being bred over there and raised in Ohio somewhere in the Midwest. I don't know. And this farmer feeds them every day. Okay, feeds them every day. The sun rises, the farmer comes in with food and water every day. You see, James, by the end of 1 week even, James is like, oh my God, the farmer is God. Oh my God, the farmer is great. Does Jay the Fox think that way? You guys already see where the story is going, right? You see this, Eisen. You know where this is going. Does Jay the Fox think that way? Jay the Fox is like, Exactly, Audra. Skepticism is not fear and worry and all that emotional BS. It's empiricism. It's saying, okay, I only run experiments and I work off probabilities. This particular person is not likely to screw me on $100 level. It doesn't mean they won't screw me on the $50,000 level. And then I run more experiments and maybe at the $50,000 level. And I'm like, okay, they're less likely to screw me at $50,000 level, but there's still a possibility. There is a 5% chance that they'll screw me at a $50,000 level. But I haven't run any experiments at the $200,000 level. They might screw me there. Jay the Fox does not explicitly just trust, or implicitly, whatever, trust people 100%. Just like, remember Uncle Bob, right? Uncle Bob, their uncle, whom is a drug addict, coming to both of them saying, let me be your accountant. And James is like, because he looks at the world the way it should be, James is like, you know, Uncle Bob should be good for it. I should help Uncle Bob. He is my uncle. But then Uncle Bob takes the money, goes tricking and drugging, gets some top-notch hookers in Vegas with some clean white powder, and has a blast. Jay the Fox knows that's what Uncle Bob is going to do. He trusts Uncle Bob to be that guy. A drug addict accountant. Yeah, that's a dangerous combination. Yep. So to the point of skepticism, it's not about fear and worry and being a bitch ass nigga. That's not what it's about. It's understanding the world as it is. Remember the first principle, okay? Right next to Jay the Fox's name there. The left top box, right? When it comes to effective action, Jay the Fox deals with the world as it is, as he knows it is, in its natural state. He is not fooled by the veneer of civilization. He is not fooled by starched shirts and glass tables and boardrooms and stuff like that. No, he's not fooled by any of that. So Jay the Fox runs experiments. Jay the Fox builds his team that way, while, you know, the other guy got screwed by the Nigerians and so on and so forth. But if we go back to the turkey story, which you guys already seen the end of the turkey story, right? The turkey story. They're both turkeys. But you see, Jay the Fox is the kind of turkey that never has his back turned, never has his back to a door, right? Jay the Fox is like, I never sit with my back to a door. And I always watch the farmer, and I got a razor blade, okay? Jay the Fox has a razor blade tied, you know, tucked under his feather, tied to his left leg. Jay the Fox, the turkey, okay, we imagine both of them are turkeys now, because James is not an empiricist. James does not understand that just because, you know, something keeps on happening, you know, on and on, it doesn't mean that it's not going to be a black swan event. In other words, the unexpected event. James expects some unexpected turbulence to happen. at any point in time. Yes, the farmer keeps feeding me. Day 1, day 2, day 3, week 1, week 2, week 4. But Jay the fox does not rest on his laurels. Jay the fox does not just start trusting the farmer. Jay the fox, because of the possibility, remember, this is about skepticism and empiricism and probabilistic kind of thinking. He knows that the possibility of the farmer, okay, the possibility of the farmer, or shall I say the probability of the farmer, he knows the possibility of the farmer doing something wild and crazy is there, okay, possible. And that the probability of him doing something is not zero yet. Because of that, he keeps a little shank. He keeps a little shank. But you see, James is just getting fat off the farmer's food and the farmer's water, thinking the farmer was sent by God, right? Jay the fox is like, Yeah. Jay the fox is always watching that door. Jay the fox always has his shank ready. Okay, it's like, okay, even if it's just a 5% chance that the farmer goes crazy on us one day, I'm going to keep the shank. Because the 5% chance is a 5% chance of complete and utter disaster. Can I get a 1 in the chat if this is well understood? Jay the fox understands the risk of ruin principle. In other words, even if there is a small possibility of a catastrophic event happening, he understands that this is a catastrophic event. Therefore, I must be prepared for it. Small probability, but the event is catastrophic. Hence, I can't just go with, oh, it's just a small probability. But it's a probability of the farmer chopping your head off. So he keeps his shank. And then what happens on Thanksgiving morning? James, when the door opens, James's back is turned, James has his back to the door. He doesn't see the farmer holding his butcher knife. And the farmer and his buddy comes through. James gets snatched up. Yes. James gets his head chopped off. Yes. James meets his end by the same person that has been feeding him this whole time. The same person that he thinks, oh, there is no chance whatsoever of anything crazy happening. But because Jay the fox had his eyes to the door and his shank ready, okay, he was able to dash towards the door, slash the farmer's help right there, the Achilles heel, Achilles tendon. Boom. And Jay the fox, or Jay the turkey, Jay the turkey is still out there in the wild in Ohio today, and he has the stories to tell. Jay the turkey is the OG. He's the OG wild turkey out there in Ohio. He said, yep, my cousin James died. My cousin James died. Who's the turkey now? So, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, I'll have my camera ready. Or maybe I don't have my camera ready the whole time while we're doing this Africa, East Africa, West Africa tour. But it seems like the Wi-Fi seems to be holding up. Yes, yes, yes. That good Ghana Wi-Fi is working. But today we talked about street smarts. We spent 2 hours explicating Thank you, Young Swift. Chaos Rain. I'm at the 2-hour mark. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. 2 hours talking about this concept, which is very important. 2 hours elucidating, explicating, illuminating, shedding light upon, making it clear, making it simple, measurable, actionable. Again, we keep things actionable. We want to know the kind of actions to take. We want to know the kinds of perceptions to have, the kinds of premises to have, the kind of axioms to have, the kind of base level assumptions to have in order to be street smart. Because we know this is something that is a good thing to be, a good thing to have, if you will. So a quick recap. Ladies and gentlemen. We said, hey, let's start from the level of words. Let's just start from the level of words. What is this street smart thing? We have a fox here. What is a street smart thing? We said, okay, let's throw some words at it. Natural survival, right? Jungle survival, right? Concrete jungle survival, because, tends to be, that's the street part. But the street or the urban or the concrete part is not the key part. The natural and the jungle aspect is the key part of this. So what are some attributes, characteristics of this jungle nature thing we're talking about? We're talking about competitive and dangerous. Then we said hence, right? Being street smart is taking effective action that actually works, not just talking about stuff or going to Black Lives Matter rallies and blah, 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 and complaining about racism and this and that and unfairness and trusting Uncle. No, effective action that actually works, action that actually moves things, okay? A nice lever placed at a nice point. Taking effective action in a competitive and dangerous environment, okay? And then we made sure that we noted that the jungle is not just the streets. As a matter of fact, it is more jungle-like in the C-suites of certain companies. It is more jungle-like when you're trying to do hostile takeovers of certain companies. It is more jungle-like in Wall Street. Any place where there are high stakes, where there is value to be garnered or gained. This is the jungle. This is absolutely key. This is perhaps the most important part of this whole thing is the thin veneer of civilization ought not fool you. That's what fooled James the whole time. Okay? But no, not Jay the Fox. Because when it comes to action, Jay the Fox deals with the world as it is. Jay the Fox is street smart. Therefore, he deals with the world as it is. James, he deals with the world as it thinks it should be. He's complaining about the racism of the Arabs. While Jay the Fox made a deal with Ahmed and said, hey, I'll give you 30%. You'll be my face in that network. You don't know me, nothing, whatever, right? I'll give you 30%. I just want to be able to move my phones into China. I know you guys got that game sewn up. Let me do it. There's always a deal to be made. And this is natural. This is the world as it is. It's never going to change. I don't care how much you pray and hope and wish about it. It is never going to change. People will always protect their interests. Incumbent powers, entrenched powers, people with access are always going to want to keep you out because you are going to do the same thing too. You are going to want to keep it within your circle as well. This is the natural, and James knows how to take effective action in a natural environment. Okay, when it comes to competition, he knows no risk, no reward. He hooked up with the Russian oligarchs that supply Kim Jong-un with his Hennessy and stuff because he knows that there's always a back door and a plug. He knows that just because China said, hey, no more importing of these phones from South Korea, no more importing of these Samsung phones. He knows that it still gets done, okay? And because he did all the work up front and he knows how everything works, he was able to see all the different nooks and crannies and the cracks. So it's like, hey, Mr. Russian oligarch, what is it going to take, to get my cell phones in that train? I'm going to go from South Korea to North Korea into China. Boom, does the deal. Breaks rules. Doesn't have this weird thing where he thinks rules are about morality. No, rules are about protecting interests. This is not some kind of 10 commandments, don't kill, you didn't kill nobody. We all understand the difference between ethical, moral, and legal. Okay? Exactly. He understands he needs to break rules, but what does James do? James is like, I expect to win by being rule bound. He expects to win by being a good teacher's pet. He expects fairness in the world. He says, it's not fair that the Chinese are doing this and trying to block. Jay the Fox is like, I expect the Chinese. I'm surprised the Chinese didn't do that sooner. And when it comes to danger, he expects it everywhere. He is skeptical. He runs experiments. He knows how to do every little thing in the job, and he knows how to test for competence in every little aspect of the job. He does everything by himself, or he has done it once before. He started small. He started Granular. He moved the cell phones himself, right? He traveled to the place where the cell phone, the final destination, right? He has touched the ground there, made personal connections there. He has done every aspect of the job, bought the phones, wrapped up the phones, took them to the UPS store, exported them, paid the taxes, made mistakes on his accounting, did this and that and the other. He knows how the whole game works. He knows how to test people, therefore, in each aspect of the game. He does not just trust them because they show up in some Facebook website. James, on the other hand, is not doing the work, okay? He's expecting that the Nigerians in Facebook are going to actually help him out, and he gives his 401k to them. And in our turkey analogy, James is the kind of turkey that trusts the farmer. James is the kind of turkey that says, hey, the farmer's been feeding me this whole time. There is no possibility that this farmer could do something crazy. But Jay the Fox is like, there is a slight chance of total catastrophe here. And I'm going to keep a shank tucked in my feather. And I'm going to keep my eyes on the door. My back will never be to the door. And hence, okay? And hence, Jay the Fox leaves with his neck intact. Jay the Fox leaves with his neck intact. So, shout out, ladies and gentlemen. And thanks for joining me in this inaugural stream, this first stream in this vacation mode. And by vacation, I just mean I'm kind of not in the States. But I'll be coming at you, to you, live and direct via the Wi-Fi. The Aquaba Wi-Fi of West Africa. And yes, I hope, okay, let me ask for one more one in the chat. I hope, let me get a one in the chat if this was a worthwhile elucidation, explication, illumination of this concept. And if there were good takeaways in terms of how to act, how to view the world and how to act, how to view the world in a place where there's competition, how to view the world in a place where is going to be any value. We all want value in our lives. We all want to do things. We all want to make change. We all have things that we're pursuing. Hence, this is applicable 100%. Okay, so when people just say street smart and you have this picture in your head of, take advantage of opportunities or this, that, is that. No, it is taking effective action. Now we have words for it. I always believe my one sentence rule again. Okay, the one sentence rule states always be able to take anything and put it into one sentence. Then you can talk about that one sentence for 2 hours. But the point is, you have this one sentence. The sentence that we have chosen here is taking effective action in a competitive and dangerous environment. Dealing with the world as it is when it comes to action. Expecting danger. Being skeptical, being an empiricist, knowing how to test people. Okay? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And we will catch you on the flip side. Shout out to and I don't know if anyone hit up the Cash App. Q-Dog usually hits up the Cash App, but for some reason it's always late. It's always late, but let me make sure if it indeed showed up. I want to make sure I shout out Kwesi Jackson. Sounds like a Ghanaian name. And that has not shown up yet. But shout out to the super chats, okay? Shout out to the moderator. Shout out to everyone. The usuals. Young Swift. Audra Brown. Practitioner. Dr. Thunder. Chaos Rain. Shozan in the house. Eisen in the house. Shout out to you all. And remember, don't be a turkey. Don't be a sucker. Do not be a sucker. Peace.
On the shore, relentless in the war, the legions in our hearts, shed waters in our balls, the spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest, the cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand, stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. With the semblance of a blaze, with gratitude and rage, we touch another page with delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the wind will fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the wind will fight the battle within.
Say what? Say what? Say what? Y'all still here? Y'all still here? I see the bubble around. I see the bubble around my head. That means the microphone is working. Burn the evil and burn out our warmonger. Strike the lightning and Jaja roll the thunder. Cast all the wicked man asunder. For the heartbeat a blunder. Know what I'm saying? Bless up. Don't get bad mind and jealous. Bless up. In Mount Sinai, the Most High dwell up. Bless up. Heads up. At time fi step up in Rasta falling red. Yes, once again, don't forget to check out the Patreon. As I said, big things are going, big things are happening, big things are coming, okay? We will be setting up the tiers. We will be giving you special access, one-on-one conversations, and also the ability to influence the direction of the show by asking your questions. Getting them answered live. We'll do it live. So check out, if you will, the Patreon. Drop a little thing in the hat. Also, the Discord is coming soon. Okay? And down the line, after we set up certain things, we're going to be having some events. We're going to be having meetups. We're going to be like, hey, let's meet up in the East Coast, in the Midwest. Let's meet up in the West Coast, wherever you may be. Let's figure some things out. Let's get some ish done. Let's be better. Let's do better. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're out.